Order the Tuesday, June 18th, 2019 meeting of the City of Ann Arbor Parks Advisory Commission. It's just after 4 p.m. and we're in council chambers. Colin, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gallardi.
Here.
Commissioner Santa Croce.
Here.
Commissioner Morrison.
Here.
Commissioner Borgsdorf. Commissioner Ramaswamy.
Here.
Commissioner London.
Here.
Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Kraut. Commissioner Skyless.
Here.
And Councilmember Grand in attendance. You have a quorum.
Thank you. You have, commissioners, you have before you the agenda. Any changes, additions? Hearing none, let's move on. Item 4, first public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, we shall move on. Item 5, we've got 2 sets of minutes to approve. Let's start with the older one. February 26, 2016. They're attached and part of the Legistar posting. Changes, additions, and if not, a motion.
I move approval.
Is there a
Second? Oh, sorry. Don't forget.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Minutes of the April 16th meeting, same drill. Changes, additions, or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Item 6A, item 6, presentation 6A, it's the Cobblestone Farms Association annual presentation. Mr. Taylor, come on up.
Thank you. Welcome from Cobblestone Farm. If you're not busy until 7 o'clock tonight, we have a market going on. So I will be relatively brief so I can get back to the market. Our annual meeting was held in April, and some of the things we had Matt Siegfried, who was a local historian, and he talked about the Potawatomi Indians that lived up and down the Huron River and in our neighborhood. Accomplishments for the year, we had well over 1,000 visitors to the house, which is really quite good. Farm market, school tours, weddings, and other events. We're trying to increase our social media presence. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a local. We have our own Cub Scout troop now. We also help sponsor a Girl Scout troop out of Honey Creek School. So the Cub Scouts and the Girl Scouts are very active on all of our events. And the girls in the Scout troop are going to be putting together one of our new exhibits, which will be up in about a month. We have a new office. We thank the city for the working our new office, which helps a whole lot. The old office is going to be turned into an archives. I have an Eastern Michigan intern who's going through the collections that we have and inventorying everything in that room so we can turn it into a registered archives for people to do research. And we had a group of students from the University of Michigan for the Museum Studies program, and that'll be later on in the report. And we also have a new relationship with a reenactment group, a group of ladies who come in costumes and to all of our events and provide additional support for our events. We finished the year in the black. Our budget's about $10,000 a year. So we're a real small organization. The goals for 2018, 2019, recruit more volunteers, update our website and logo, establish a walking tour with placards around the farmhouse,
and the grounds around the farmhouse. Create a period clothing exhibit, which is in process right now. Implement Past Perfect software requirements, might require a computer upgrade. We're working on that. Convert exterior woodshed into an exhibit area, following recommendations by the U of M capstone project folks. That's some of the goals that we're looking at right now. The Museum Studies Group, and I'll go into a little bit with this. The Museum Studies Group, Alexa Norwood, Alice Register, and Lucy Smith from the University of Michigan. They started at the beginning of the semester, of the winter semester, with us. And proposal suggests preliminary outlines for interpreting the woodshed space. The goal of the slideshow is to outline a variety of different possibilities, possible solutions. Their complete report also went into the financial, how we can pay for that particular piece of thing. The following overall goals is, of the space were to take into account telling the transportation and the agricultural story of Cobblestone Farm, stable, safe, and interpretive and cost-effective displays, modular space that can be used for a variety of different programming and logistic needs, inviting but not too inviting to avoid unwanted activity, space for storage, and the space may be visited only, may be a visitor's only encounter with the site. We are not open all that often at this point. That's where the volunteers come in. Modular displays that can be created and changed at any time as funds allow. This is the woodshed. It looks like a two-car garage. Right now, it's a storage facility, and it doesn't look very good, especially for the use for the farmers people that come in for weddings and things like that. It really doesn't look very good, and doesn't look inviting at all. So they came up with some ideas. We're talking about putting a stairway into the woodshed to access our new office space, but that's a question right now. This is what they interpreted the space to be. They would use the side of that stairway for display spaces, large-scale map of the area, portraits of the different families that lived there, informative text about Ann Arbor history during this period that integrates the family or the farm because it's at child's level, tie it in history to children on the farm. So, back panel was more display space and place to interpret our buggy and our sleigh, and also railroad. You might want to know why railroad. The Interurban ran in front of the farmhouse from 1890 to 1929. The people who lived at the farm used the Interurban. The last family there, the Campbell family, were very definite users of the Interurban. So we figured we'd interpret that space. The other wall, talking about implementing the farm history and things that people could touch, leather, wool, whatever, which is what we're going to try and do. It shows us with the buggies and the sleigh above. That's not going to happen. So we're going to have to reinterpret that particular piece. But exterior signs on the outside of the building itself to show different things. These people put a lot of work into this report, and when they sent it to us, it's a report that's about this thing. And at the end of it, they put in finances, how we're gonna finance, how you can finance these things, and that's in our possession at this point. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Please come and join us on the 30th of June. We're celebrating the 4th of July on the 30th of June, and we're also going to be doing Log Cabin Day, which is that particular day in the state of Michigan. So we're part of the Log Cabin program. So come out and visit us on July the 30th from noon to 4. We would love to see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for coming down and the work that you do. The, item
Thank you very
6B, the Ann Arbor Skate Park Annual Presentation, Nina Jurgens and Trevor Staples. Welcome.
Thanks, Josh.
Hi, I'm Trevor Staples. Some of you know me from the Friends of the Upper Skate Park. With me is Nina Jurgens, our newish president of the organization. We're here to do a quick sort of overview of what's going on with the skate park, and then I think Colin has some points to bring up about things that are coming.
Yeah.
So, little background, which most of you probably remember from my presentation in the fall, so I won't go too far into that. But here's our mission and our guiding principles. Overall, we're here to support skateboarding and keeping up the skate park, maintaining it and improving it, programming at the skate park, things like that. That's our mission and our goals. Our board of directors is the same as it was when we came in the fall. We have some programs that are ongoing. Do you want to talk about the programs, Nina?
Sure. We started the all-girl skate immediately when the park opened, and we've been doing it during the warm months, twice a month, where we provide free instruction for girls, women of all ages. And it's grown quite a bit. We had our last all-girl skate, we had 25 girls show up. And in fact, so many girls showed up that we're going to have to actually buy some more equipment because it's become so popular. And in fact, it says their bake sale, we're actually having a bake sale during our our 5th anniversary to raise some funds for the all-girl skate as well, so that they can give something back by running the booth and providing some things to sell.
So here's a little more. So the all-girl skate, Nina pretty much described what goes on with the all-girl skate. One thing that's new this year is that the Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Commission has expressed interest in helping to fund the program for the next 2 years. So we're working with them to figure out how to do that, a budget for that and how much it might cost, which is great because, as Nina said, most of our fundraising for the all-girls skate comes from, bake sales and raffles and things like that. So this will help us focus more on the actual instruction and programming for the girls and women. So this coming Sunday, we have our 5-year anniversary celebration. What we're doing is fundraising for lights for the skate park. So we've been working with Colin and some city staff for the past few months to figure out how much it costs, how would we even do that, is it viable? It is viable. And it's the main thing that the users have been asking for since the skate park was built 5 years ago, is extended use in the months where the nights are longer. So this is our kickoff campaign for the lights. Our goal was to raise $10,000. Shortly after we announced that goal, Doug and Lynn Song jumped in and said, we'd like to donate $5,000. And then later they decided they wanted to make it $10,000. They're super huge fans of the skate park and supporters since before the beginning of the skate park. The Kauffman Foundation has donated $5,000 to our goal. So we've surpassed our goal. We're at about 17,000 now. So we hope by the end of the event on Sunday that we'll have raised that whole 20,000 to help pay for the lights at the skate park. The event is from 11 to 4. It also includes the all-girls skate in the morning. We have some guest athletes coming. Andy McDonald, who you might have met at other events at our skate park. He's a world famous skateboarder. He's sort of from the area and friends of ours, and he comes to support the skate park whenever he can. We have a couple of female pro skaters who are coming to help with the all-girls skate in the morning. And actually we have John Kelly also, who's a Rams running back, who is also a skateboarder who's from Detroit, and he's going to be coming also. And one last thing about this event is that it's the final event of a weekend of Tony Hawk Foundation and Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation events for skate parks in the region, including Detroit's Riverside Park, which is having their grand opening the day before this. So it's a pretty big deal. We're pretty excited about it. Hopefully all of you can come out. Anything else? Of course, there's ways you can contact us. We're all over social media. We have a website. It's pretty easy to find us. And that's it. One of our favorite
Question.
pictures there.
Please.
Thank you so much for all your work for these before, and then now these 5 years have been quite successful, and I'm really glad to hear the increase in usage. Can you tell us more about the lights in the park, and what are you putting in and why?
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't think we realized how much the park was going to get used. And it turns out that it's used year-round, and skaters actually show up with snow blowers and shovels to clean things out to be able to skate year-round. And it gets dark so early that it's not really that useful, especially for kids getting out of school at 3 o'clock. It gets dark at 4:30. So if it's warm, they can't use the park because it's too dark to use.
And as far as how much the lights would cost and how many light poles there would be and how it would be powered and everything, we've started working with Colin and city staff to, I think a few months ago we had a general estimate of what it might be, and we've been talking with some other companies and trying to figure out, nail down how much it would cost and what it would take, what color the lights are going to be, are they LEDs, which they probably will be, and how much light is needed, how often they would be on, all those things. So we're continuing to work with city staff. We're looking at next spring at the earliest to have the lights installed as we figure out how to do all this.
Other questions? Bob?
No, there was,
Mike?
No, two quick comments. I'm the co-representative on the Environmental Commission, and one thing we've been talking about is dark sky lighting. So actually lighting that's shielded, so it lights up what you want to, and as opposed to making your retina change as you're approaching the site. So this lighting can help enhance safety when you're outside by making sure that the areas that are still in the dark preserve your night vision. And while you'd think it would be commonplace, it's often overlooked. It's also great for migratory birds and things like that. So please look into that as you're moving ahead. Every time lighting comes up, I feel like that's my little soapbox here, to talk about the dark sky lighting. And the other is, as somebody that lives close to Wheeler Park, the light button was often helpful because people could come and push that button and the light would come on, and then you'd get a light for a while, and then it would go out. I imagine there's something more sophisticated in terms of motion activation or something like that that could also help. But just from a conservation standpoint and you know, be able to, an opportunity to turn it off standpoint, that's a nice feature that can be incorporated into this too.
We've discussed that. It just depends on how easy it is to do that. But that's something that I think is important too, that it's not just on all the time if there's nobody there, because it's wasteful. We've also considered having an offset with some solar panels as well.
Bob?
yeah, will there be hours?
For the lights?
Yeah. I mean-
I would assume so, yeah, since the parks have certain hours, they
Yeah.
wouldn't be open. I mean,
Okay.
the lights wouldn't be on past the park's hours, I would assume.
Yep, the hours, I believe for Vets Park, I think it's midnight is when it
Midnight?
actually closes technically, because they've had, in the past, the baseball games and softball games run longer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be something that we would certainly have the lights programmed so that they shut off when the park is closed. There will be all sorts of opportunities for ways to adjust the time that they're on as the days get longer, shorter, all of that, too.
One other question. How's everything, the construction of it holding up with all of the use that it's getting?
Do you want me to take that?
Sure.
So it's holding up great. We just had our first round of significant maintenance, which was, I believe, about $15,000.
Right.
The Friends of the Amber Skate Park and the city are splitting the cost of that. Those kind of things were, some of the stress cracks that are normal with the concrete were getting a little wider, and so what they do is they grind out the cracks and then fill them with epoxy. The coping edge around the lip of the pools, as it gets ground down by the trucks, they call it knuckling, so between the tiles, it gets sort of, there's kind of divots, so
Okay.
those were repaired, and the grout in the tiles and the coping was fixed up. Overall, it was pretty low maintenance. There isn't significant damage to the skate park in any way. Really, it was still skatable, just one of the main reasons we wanted to do that is so these things wouldn't get worse and be more expensive to fix later. One thing that we probably will look into in the next year or so is a sealing of all the concrete, because it's starting to get a little rough in some places, kind of like a sidewalk does. And so we'll be looking at, that's something that we would be happy to fund through the maintenance endowment, if need be. So we're looking at that.
Thank you.
And also, we've talked about, we just met with some city staff to talk about seating at the skate park too for spectators, because that's one thing that it really lacks, that we've been thinking about since the beginning. There's bleachers out there, and sometimes those become skatable structures as the creativity of the skaters gets into play there, which is kind of cool, but it's also, it makes it hard to sit. So we're looking into that pretty seriously, probably within the next year, getting some seating in there, I would think, next year.
One of the things I'd add about the condition of the skate park overall, I think, we've had a lot of extreme weather over the past 5 years, from one winter being historically cold and to others being very mild and very wet. And I think it's, the skate park has kind of been exposed to those extremes, and I think has come through really well. So that's, I think, a good overall sign on the integrity of the construction, so.
Yeah, one last thing is that we've been working to reinstate the skate park advisory committee. Although we've been working together pretty closely over the years, the official committee hasn't been up and running, and so we're working to get that going again too, where we'll have official meetings of the city and advise the park advisory commission.
And that's actually on the agenda
Okay.
in short order here.
Okay.
So,
Anybody else? Thanks so much for coming and for the work.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on to 7, reports. Reports from the Parks and Rec manager. Colin.
Okay, so this is the first time we have the agenda, is a little bit, I suppose the order is not as it once was. But what I started to do for this meeting is to provide you actually with a written report on the park manager's side. It's kind of been on my mind for kind of a number of years, to be honest. We have more kind of news than I can report sort of ad lib in 5 minutes. So I think once a quarter, I intend to share this with you, and it will highlight the different things that the different kind of parts of the department are working on. And it will be in your packets, so you can have a look at it actually before the meeting, if you so desire. 1 or 2 things just to highlight this time. We've had a lot of rain It's been a really, really tough spring, and as a result, the mowing has been hard. The crews have stayed pretty well on the 14-day schedule. One of the things that they have struggled with is it has been so wet that they can't actually get mowers into certain places without causing a bunch of harm to both the equipment and to the park. We tried to kind of be proactive in sharing that information actually with residents because it is what it is. We are gonna look and see what sort of things we might be able to change for next year to how do we get to those low-lying places where we can't take heavy equipment. You know, the kind of immediate thought is more manpower and actually people on foot doing that, but we need to see actually what the cost of that would be and if we didn't have more staff, how much of a delay it would result in everything else. So it is something, though, that we are continuing to evaluate, and we know that the grass has been longer than we would like this year in the spring. We also have the park operations staff. We have 81 playgrounds across the parks, and those are inspected. We have about a half dozen staff who are qualified to do inspections of the playground, but it's really kind of a key group of actually one or two staff do it. They've already actually made their way through all 81 playgrounds in the spring. We expect to do it again in the summer and in the fall. When they do it, they literally go over every piece in the playground to see that it conforms. And if it is out of conformance, then we close that part off until it's repaired, or if we're able to repair it then and there, we do. But that's just a lot of work and ongoing, and it isn't really something that we've spoken about that much in the past. So I want to highlight some things really that park operations is involved in. We also, since the start of the calendar year, we've hired 308 seasonal employees, so pretty much everybody is on board right now. That is a lot of employees, and it's a lot of time spent acclimating them to the areas that they work, and staff do a good job of really providing them the training to provide kind of the level of customer service that we expect. Let's see, one or two other things I just want to mention. As I said, it's been a very wet spring. Just to give some context for that, here's a couple of stats. Average rainfall in April is typically 3 inches. This year we received 6.5. June rainfall is about 3.5 inches on average. We're already at 3.6 inches of rain with half of the month to go. And just to compare it to the past couple of years, it's a lot more than we had in the last couple of years. And it also has been a lot cooler. It isn't just what you think. It really has been. We've had one day in May this year that it actually hit 80, and I think it probably just hit 80 because I don't remember that. And last year we had 14 days when we were at 80. So, last year was warmer than usual. We had very warm weather as we headed into Memorial Day weekend, I remember. But all of this means that the parks haven't been quite as heavily used as we would like. The other aspect of all this rain is that the river is very high and flows very fast, and when that happens, we stop the river trips between Argo to Gallup, and that is a safety concern. So we're still able to get people out on the boats. They can take a kayak in the impoundment, so we still have opportunities for people who have actually come out to do that. We don't have to turn them away completely, which is great. And one or two last things. If you have a chance to go to Gallup and you want to meet a goat, we have the Goats at Gallup program that you've probably heard about. That started about a week and a half ago. We have a couple of islands out there that are massively overgrown with invasive species. And we really haven't had an opportunity to use those islands for quite a while. So this is kind of a pilot program to see what has been done in some other communities, what sort of effect we have if we, instead of using herbicide and things like that, if we actually try goats. So they arrived about a week and a half ago, and they've been hard at work. You can take a trip out in a kayak or a canoe, and you may see them. You will hear them certainly chewing away at stuff. And if you want to learn more, there is a walk and talk Wednesday, so actually tomorrow at 10 a.m. to noon, or Monday the 24th from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. If you're able to make it, it's enjoyable. And I think that's it.
Questions? Awesome. Moving on, item 8A, regular business, resolution to recommend fiscal year 2019 operating expenses at Ann Arbor Skate Park be shared by Friends of Ann Arbor Skate Park and the city's park operating budget. Colin?
Yeah, so this is an annual resolution that we bring to PAC, where, in a nutshell, what it says is that the skate park group is responsible for the maintenance costs of the skate park, but that the city has the ability to chip in, and that is what we usually do on this. That's what we're recommending again this year. The repairs outside of the $15,000 repair that was mentioned, work orders to date are $1,952. And staff recommend that we cover that and half of the $15,000 invoice. And the reason for it really being that it continues then to allow the maintenance, the endowment for the skate park group is at about $108,000, I think, the last time I checked. That sound about right? Yeah.
Yes, I think that's pretty close.
Yeah. So when we're in a position to contribute to this very heavily used park as a part of our overall operating budget, to me, it makes sense that we do that to both support the skate park, but also to allow the maintenance endowment to grow for when we do have a more expensive repair in the future. So that's what the resolution covers.
Questions, discussions, motions?
I move passage.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 8B, resolution appointing members to the Skate Park Advisory Committee. Colin?
So this is exactly what we're talking about just a little while ago. You may remember, as a part of the bylaws, when we revised them for PAC, they were amended to include the Skate Park Advisory Committee as a part of PAC as opposed to as subcommittee for council. So that's what the resolution does, establishes the Skate Park Advisory Committee and appoints members. It's to be composed of a combination of staff from the city, also from the county, because they were one of the integral parts when it came to the funding of the skate park initially. And it should also have members from the Friends of the Ann Arbor Skate Park, which we have on here, and we would also like it to have a Park Advisory Commission member. So the resolution, as it's written, has the names of everyone other than a Park Advisory Commission member at the time, so we need to amend it to include that.
And is there someone here who might like to do that?
I volunteered via email to serve in that position. I'm happy to do it.
So can we amend that to include? Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Amend that to include her name. All right, so it's been amended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
That we approve this resolution with the amendment.
As amended, and is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item 8C, resolution recommending accepting a Fair Food Network grant for the Ann Arbor Farmers Market for $45,000 in appropriate funds. Josh,
Hello,
welcome.
thank you. This is an annual resolution to accept funding from the Fair Food Network for the Double Up Food Program. This year, the amount has actually gone up to $45,000 from $40,000. This is a great program that helps low-income families get more for their money at the market and locally. So, again, it's managed pretty well by Stephanie, and hopefully we can approve it again for this year. Any questions?
Discussion or a motion?
I just had a question.
Yes, please.
Thank you. It ends up being fully used every year, I would imagine, or nearabouts?
It varies from year to year. Obviously, with the construction last year, I think we saw a little bit less usage than we have in prior years. The amount is not held to that we have to use all of it. It is rolled over to make sure that we have it. So we're going to continue to try to reach out to additional organizations to make sure that they're aware. We do a little bit more marketing every year to make people aware of what's going on. So we definitely would like to use all of it every year, but we can't control what people come into. So hopefully this year, without construction, we'll see a little bit more use than we did last year.
Okay. I think it's a great program. I saw it down there. It's fully
Michael.
approved.
Is this also used at Cobblestone, the market that's at Cobblestone as well?
No.
Or could it be?
I think they would have to apply for the grant through the Fair Food Network. This is through the city's market.
Okay, and the city doesn't administer that?
No,
particular market,
no.
so it's on a city property.
We are they rent the space from us and they run the market themselves. It is not our market.
That's correct. And we have, I think, in the past also shared opportunities for grants for them to apply for like this, and we'll certainly continue to do so because it is a great program.
It's a great program, and it
Yep.
might reach a more diverse
Yep.
population than the downtown market.
Yep,
For sure.
absolutely.
I move approval.
Is there a second? Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? I abstain. My wife works for the organization.
No.
Item 8D, this is my last PAC meeting as a commissioner and chair. So we need to hold elections for the chair and vice chair. I'm going to turn it over to Colin.
So this was another thing that was amended in the PAC bylaws this last time. For those of you who have been here in the past for elections, they were done on a piece of paper that was on a secret ballot and was folded and all sorts of things. I think for matters of transparency, the bylaws were amended so that it is a voice roll call vote, and that's just what I'm looking for at this moment here is the exact language on how we do that.
I just went through this on the Police Oversight Commission, and it was and apparently it's now that way for all commissions.
Yep, yeah,
And it was just a simple voice vote.
yep,
I think do we need nominations?
yes.
So I would like to nominate Paige, our intrepid and reliable vice chair for the position. She'll certainly be more competent than I.
I'll second that
It's
nomination.
a low hurdle.
Do I need to accept or?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right.
you don't have a choice.
You have no choice now.
Okay.
Is there anyone else interested? Hearing none, I'm just gonna voice vote it.
Yeah, let's say it shall be by voice and a show of hands.
Right. All in favor of Paige Morrison as the next chair of the Parks Advisory Commission, indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
I'll abstain, so I don't. Can I?
You can
All
vote
right.
for yourself.
Let's see if it'd be my
Okay, all right.
Vice chair now.
In fact, some people would say if you didn't vote for yourself, that you didn't really have the confidence.
Okay, well, I vote, then yes, I vote yes.
All right, so here comes the stickier wicket. We need someone to step forward and believe that they want to be vice chair, and I understand Lauren's interested. Is there anyone else that's interested? Do we have a nomination?
I
I'll
nominate. Nope.
No,
All
you
right,
go ahead.
Okay,
No,
I
Bob was
nominate.
first. Bob was first.
I nominate.
Paige?
I second.
All in favor, indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Awesome. It's a new regime. Thank you, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's not a low, but it's a high bar, David. I think you do a fantastic job, so.
You
Yeah.
Thank you. So, item.
You don't get to say something?
Huh?
Oh, no.
What?
You don't get off that easy.
What?
I think people get to say something if they want to, if you're gonna just say you're leaving us for this. Yeah, I'm gonna say something
All right, say something.
publicly. So I've had the pleasure of working with, I think, David, basically almost the whole time you've been on PAC. And one of the reasons why he's leaving us, I feel like I'm to blame. Because I was the person who said, you know, I have seen his skills and they're so impressive through both our work on the North Main Task Force together and this work on the Park Advisory Commission. And understanding your skills to, I said, this is a man who can run a meeting. And when people need some direction, he will step in and he listens and he understands where it's going and can guide the conversation and really help folks make decisions. And at the city, we have a real need in terms of this police oversight commission that's going forward. And having a voice like that at the table who not only cares about the issues and understands them, but can be that voice of experience to help groups that are tackling these really difficult issues was critical. And I was so honored that you were willing to step up, but feel that gain for the city is definitely a tremendous loss here. And while I have absolutely no doubts, I would add the enthusiastic leadership of Paige Morrison, then she will do a fabulous job. You will be so missed.
Thank you.
And,
And do I make that out, the check out to you for that? Thank you.
I just
I appreciate it.
felt the need to say it.
It's been a real pleasure. So we now have to move to closed session in a land acquisition matter. So is there a motion to do that?
Yep.
Motion to move to closed session.
Is there a second? Michael? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. All right, we're moving up. We'll be back down here to do a second public comment and communications. From a closed session, eventually a closed session of the Land Acquisition Committee. It's now item 10 on the agenda, a second public comment. Seeing no member of the public here, we will move on. Communications are listed. We don't need a closed session. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight and for making this fun the last 5 or 6 years, however long it's been.
Thanks, David.
Thanks,
Thank you, David.
For a while, here's the greedy part. For a while, I was chair of this for like